we are a big threat to this existing money-making machine.
Well, look, I've been at this 17 years talking about low-carb ketogenic diets. I have felt that kind of pressure from various organizations. The food companies, they don't like what people like me do. The pharmaceutical companies, they don't like either. When you're kind of getting close to home for their profitability, and I hate to even say it that way, but that's what it is. Same with mainstream medicine. They get very profitable from all these procedures that they get to do. They don't like that. And it's so funny because you got into medicine because, I don't know, you cared about your patients. And like you said, most of your fellow colleagues in the medical world, same thing. They do mean well. They do have the best interests of their patients at heart. But then you've got entities like the pharmaceutical companies, like the food companies and other special interests. They're not interested in your health. They're interested in their wealth.
Yes, yes. So, you know, and that also leads to, I think, to a great degree of disenchantment and burnout in physicians.
Yeah.
Because if you're just pushing drugs, I mean, like, I work at the VA system, and I remember seeing all these veterans coming in with their bags. They're going to show their primary care doctor all their medications, right? These are what I'm taking. You know, minimum there would be 5 or 6. You know, more it would be 30 drugs. Everybody has a bag. So that's what you know. That's what you're doing. You know, we have, you know, how about getting a patient to, you know, to be healthier in the first place? Because we have so many tools nowadays, even diabetes, that we thought we have to throw drugs. It's a very easily preventable and treatable condition, just with diet and lifestyle alone. And stem cell therapy, actually, there's some great research showing incredible results for both type 1 and type 2 diabetes. So very exciting. And you know, so when it comes to stem cells, you know, there's so much research out there, and that's where I think I'm feeling a void, because so many doctors are so excited by it, and then they may start offering it, but they don't know exactly what kind of research, what kind of backing, you know, from scientific point of view there are. So it takes somebody to kind of put everything systematically together. So that's kind of what I've been doing in the field. You know, I want to educate other doctors.
Yes, and we need that. By the way, before we get too deep into the stem cell talk, tell us what stem cells are, because you differentiated it earlier and brilliantly, by the way. I love that you said, 20 years ago it was all about embryonic, but that's not what you're talking about now. Give us kind of the basic primer 101 layman's of what stem cell therapy is.
Okay, so first of all, to admire just the profundity and just the beauty of what stem cells are. Think of you and me and everybody that's listening to this. We came from a single stem cell, right? Sperm and egg formed the first cell, and that is the first stem cell. And from that stem cell came us, this incredibly complex organism. So what kind of intelligence is in that one cell that is able to direct this kind of symphony, this orchestration of changing and forming of tissue layers, and then they become little organs, and how they mature and how they all connect and communicate with each other? What kind of incredible intelligence? If that's not miracle, I don't know what it is. So that is the first stem cell. But there are many kinds of stem cells. When the first stem cell come along, so when they use embryonic stem cells, that's a very close stage to the very first stem cell, because the embryonic stem cells, they harvest it from the embryo at day 5 to 7 of gestation. So it's only a few days old, you know, of the little embryo. So they take one of those cells out. Those cells are incredibly powerful. So powerful that things can go wrong because they're wild with potentials. So that's where those cells can cause tumor formation, because they can just go kind of grow whatever tissue they want to, you know, grow into. But each step of the way, when they start forming tissues and you know, they will get more and more specialized. They're still stem cells, but then they get more and more specialized, eventually down to all the way in a mature organ. There are tissue-specific stem cells. So those stem cells will form just the cells of the tissue. Let's say liver, stem cells in the liver. That's what they will, you know, they only have one potential. So you got from able to form anything to only forming one particular cell type in the tissue. All these are stem cells. So we can utilize any of these stem cells, anywhere along the way. And embryonic stem cells is the earliest, right? Day 5 to 7, very, very young, powerful stem cells. And then there are stem cells that are commonly used these days, which are actually the newcomer in the stem cell therapy, which is birth tissue. So that's day 0 old, right? Day 0, day 1 old stem cells from a fully formed human being. So when the baby's born, the birth tissue usually is tossed away, but we realize that it's full of stem cells. So there are different types of stem cells, but it's full of stem cells. And we keep growing, right? As we keep growing older, our bodies still have lots of stem cells, but the stem cell number are dwindling drastically as we age. I'll give you a number, the mesenchymal stem cell, which has been very much targeted these days because of this powerful kind of orchestrating role they have in the body. And these mesenchymal stem cells, some researchers doesn't like the word stem cell. They don't think that this is stem cells in the purest sense. They want to name it medicinal signaling cells. So these are cells that actually send almost like medicinal signals. They actually tell your body what to do in order to repair and regenerate and help modulate your whole immune system. So anywhere you have blood supply, you have these cells in the body. So these are called mesenchymal stem cells. So MSCs, I'll just call MSCs. So these MSCs, when you were born, every 10,000 cells in your body, there will be 1 MSCs. But when you reach teenage years, it has dropped down to 1 in every 100,000. So that's tenfold less. And when you reach your 40s, it's 1 in 400,000. And when you reach your 80s, it's 1 in 2 million. As you can see, you're running out of stem cells. So as you grow older, so that is just the way it is. It's not something that we can change. Although now we do have therapies that we can help, replenish the stem cell supply. So the early stem cell therapy actually was done probably now it's about 60 years ago from bone marrow transplantation. So they didn't know it was stem cell therapy, but that was actually stem cell therapy because there are stem cells in the bone marrow. And for a long time, people thought that's the only kind of stem cells that are still left in the body. They had no idea there are other kinds of stem cells.
Yeah.
So, and then they found out, it's here, it's there. And so another group of, researchers started to look at stem cells from the fat tissue. So it's not so much the fat has any stem cells. The fat is fat cells, but you've got to have blood supply to supply all the fat cells, right? So all around those blood vessels, there will be stem cells. So like I said, these MSCs, they actually all around the blood vessels. So you're getting cells from that blood vessel that's supplying the fat, and then you can get cells out of that and use that therapeutically. So the oldest form is the bone marrow, the transplantation, so cells from the bone marrow, but they have very few MSCs, a lot of other type of cells, especially hematopoietic progenitor cells. And then, and the second one, you come with fat. And of course, actually before fat, people realized they started studying stem cells, and then they found out about embryonic stem cells. And that's where, all the ethical controversy came along. And then birth tissue only lasts probably the last 20 years, but it's quickly taking over.
Yeah.
Have you experienced the dreaded keto flu? Did you know that most of these symptoms are actually due to your body dumping excess electrolytes? This is where Element comes in. Element is a tasty electrolyte drink mix with everything you need and nothing you don't. That means lots of salt with no sugar. Element is formulated to help anyone with their electrolyte needs and is perfectly suited to folks following a keto, low-carb, or paleo diet. Element contains a science-backed electrolyte ratio, 1,000 milligrams of sodium, 200 milligrams potassium, and 60 milligrams of magnesium, with none of the junk, no sugar, no coloring, no artificial ingredients, no gluten, no fillers, no BS. Everyone needs electrolytes, especially those on low-carb diets, or if you practice intermittent or extended fasting, if you're physically active, or sweat a lot. Add Element today and see how much better you feel and perform. Use the URL drinklmnt.com/Jimmy.
So by the way, guys, don't play a drinking game with the phrase stem cells today, because you will be drunk. You're already drunk if you've that was like
I don't want to be too technical, you know. Yeah.
It was da 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 stem cells, da da stem cells, da 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 stem cells.
Hey, that's what we are. We're made of it.
So what is the most common use for stem cell therapy? You talked about like specifically getting liver stem cells to regrow liver. What's the most common use?
Well, we're not quite there.
Okay.
At this point. I think right now the stem cell therapy, you know, of course, first we started with a bone marrow transplant.
Yes.
So, and that just the kind of the rich the bone marrow actually has very similar composition as the cord blood, umbilical cord blood, or blood itself. So you can actually transplant umbilical cord blood into a recipient and achieve very similar results to replenish the bone marrow.
Yeah.
The thing is, that is the only FDA indication. So all the other use I mentioned, I can't really even talk about the use. All I can talk about is what research has shown,
yes.
Right? And I can mention clinically what I have seen, but the only FDA indication is for blood diseases and to replenish.
But look, if what you talked about earlier is possible and researchers vet that out and find that out, like number one, Nobel Prize in medicine, but like it revolutionizes everything we think about medicine now.
Exactly. Yeah. So we're at this stage, you know, kind of exciting but painful stage of finding things out, but is not fully accepted by the establishment. So that's where we're at, and it's rapidly changing. So when it comes to what research have shown, so I actually founded an academy, American Academy of Integrative Cell Therapy, where actually when doctors take our course, so I teach this course that, you know, I break these research results down into different organ systems and disease categories. So people actually take away more than 300 articles that's published, that's all categorized. So there's just, you know, you can look from head to toe, you know, all kinds of research has been done, especially for more common conditions. So, you know, the research have shown definitely benefits in all kinds of inflammatory conditions.
Yes.
Let's say, you know, injury, right? Injury recovery, you know, helping tissue repair. So all kinds of osteoarthritis, you know, back, you know, disc diseases. And then, you know, when you look at so sports injuries and trauma, or even wound healing. So all these are tissue repair. And then there's a lot of kind of chronic conditions like lung diseases, like COPD, and looking at liver regeneration, helping with liver cirrhosis, and with you know, end stage kidney failure, and so you know, for even eye, you know, so you basically can look from head to toe, not every condition, but a lot of conditions.
Yeah, I mean, look, earlier you mentioned diabetes, and a lot of people that follow my work, type 2 diabetes through nutrition can be helped. And obviously you mentioned how stem cells, but the type 1 diabetes, it's always been the big bugaboo. Well, there's no cure for type 1 diabetes because once beta cell function of the pancreas isn't working anymore, it's kind of shot its wad. So stem cell therapy, if they can figure this out, if they could grab pancreatic stem cells and be able to regenerate that, again, revolution.
Well, the results were, they didn't even give pancreatic stem cells. They just give regular, I believe it's MSCs. So just regular kind of run-of-the-mill, you know, stem cells that's all over your body. Then they infuse into a person, and some patients, and they show beta cell regeneration.
Whoa. And like, I've never heard that before, Dr. Kong, to be honest.
I know. Me neither before I saw the study.
Yeah. And I'm not looking, quite frankly, at stem cell studies very often, which is, again, why you're here today. I wanted to pick your brain a lot.